Let's throw our hands in the air
Woo-hoo.
as we soar through the sky.
Yatta.
We'll catch the sun
Woo-hoo.
with your hand in mine. And
Yeah.
if we work as a team, everything will be fine.
Yeah!
Oh, it's Cure of the What Now?
Let's henshin and start the show!
Hello, fellow summer breakers, and welcome to episode 21 of Cure of the What Now, the only show where we know it's more important to pack snacks than homework.
Word.
I'm your host, Kat, and I would like to do something new with my summer break. I'm pretty bored of the same thing all the time. I don't really care if it's new to you. If it's not new to me, it doesn't count.
That's so lame. Well, thank you, Kat. I'm the co-host, Joel, and I'm just staring intensely, hoping that you'll allow me to sleep in your bed tonight because I'm just so restless.
I guess I could allow it this once. Here's something.
Out like a light, yes?
It's so bizarre to hear you call me Kat, because you don't most of the time. Like, I get that from friends, from your family, not from my family, but you usually call me, you know, wife, doofus, person over there.
Hey, Stinky. No, I mean, we live just on our own, and we're not the most social people, so usually I can just, like, start talking, and you can assume that I'm talking to you.
Absolutely. Every once in a while, I'll be like, oh, yes, and you'll go, no, I was talking to my merging dragons.
Stay away from Merge Dragons. It's a hellhole of a game. It's not fun. It's not interesting.
But it is something to do.
That is absolutely true.
Joel, before we sat down to start recording, you said you thought you had a relevant discussion question for us this week.
I did. I also have a quick puppy update. We have bought our puppy a cart, and we have been carrying her around like a princess because she is not old enough to touch the grass that has been touched by other dogs before her.
She can't touch grass. She's going to have bad takes on Twitter.
But anyway, so she is beautiful, and she only tried to escape the cart like 3 times the first time that we tried to take her out. So very exciting, very fun.
Absolutely. Thanks for the puppy update.
You're welcome.
The pup date.
Yes, the all-important pup date. Honestly, we should just change both of our podcasts to just be about the puppy. We just talk for like half an hour to an hour about how great she is.
I probably could. I've made her a lot of puzzle toys in the past 3 days.
Yes, absolutely. But you were asking about the discussion question. So, in this episode, we find out that Minori is bringing a lot of books to summer camp. And also, it kind of sounds like they're going to be at summer camp for the entire summer, even though I thought that they were only going for a week or something like that, but
They are only going for a couple of days. The girls are just, you know, over-enthusiastic.
Okay. But my point is that Minori brought a lot of books, and she said that she had books that she would recommend to the others. So today's discussion question, what type of books do you think the various girls would read? And if you think Minori might be off in her suggestions, like she misread Manatsu for some reason, we could discuss that as well.
Well, we all know Manatsu can't read.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
So what Minori brought for Manatsu was shonen manga, specifically the ever-popular shonen manga Black Clover.
Okay.
This will appeal to Manatsu because she and Asta share the same brain cell chemistry.
Yeah. I like that a lot. I think that defending the kingdom, Tropica shines, that sort of thing. And they're both like, they're both go-get-em kind of protagonists. So I like that. I wonder if Minori would give Sango... Okay, so the real answer is like light romance or like fairy princess-y, kind of more Disney vibes. But also imagine if she got Sango a bodice ripper. Just like, it was just on the verge of like a little bit too mature for them. And Sango was just like, oh my!
Minori reads those, but she's aware that she shouldn't recommend them to her friends. Minori had a similar childhood experience to me.
Do you want to tell that story about Interest?
Yeah, I think I've told it on our other podcast, but I'll tell it here as well. So when I was like 10 or 11, I got really, really into the Dark Elf trilogy by R.A. Salvatore. And if you haven't read those books, in the first one, there is an orgy scene. It wasn't super explicit, and I was a fairly sheltered child. Like, my parents didn't try to shelter me. I just was not at all interested in any of that.
Well, and like, I read it in college, and even I didn't quite pick up on it. It was more like their bodies dance together, which could be a sexual euphemism, but it could also just mean they were having a sick rave party.
Yes.
But
So there was an orgy, and his sister tried to seduce him because that was a thing in the culture, apparently. But the important thing is that I didn't pick up on any of the sexual subtext at all. And so I went to visit a childhood friend who I grew up with, and I was like, hey, you love to read, I love to read, this book is amazing, it's got a panther that he can summon from the spirit realm, it's awesome, give it a read. He was not quite at the same reading level that I was, and so he read really thick books like that with his dad, and so they were sitting there reading together, and they get to the orgy scene, and this is a very religious Christian family, and the dad calls my mom and is like, do you have any idea what your daughter is reading? And my mom didn't care. Like, my mom handed me an anatomy textbook when I was 8 for sex ed because I was going to miss the class at school. So she very much was, like, unfazed by this whole thing. But she looked at me when she got off the phone and she was like, listen, before you recommend any books to friends, please run them by me first. Because he was very upset.
oh my goodness gracious. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Would Asuka just read stories about so maybe Asuka would prefer to read books about like martial arts or like a sports team that defied the odds and you know was victorious anyways. But also I could see her being into a dog's purpose and a dog's journey, just like cute stories told from the point of view of the dog.
Asuka plays RPGs, so I think she's into high fantasy adventures.
Oh, I like that a lot. Whatever it is that she actually reads, I wonder if it would be something that she would kind of be a little bit embarrassed if the other girls found out, because, you know, we've seen that already where she was a little embarrassed when they saw her playing that Animal Crossing-ish game or that sort of thing. So I wonder if maybe she reads something that you wouldn't expect, something that's like really girly. Not that she isn't girly, but like extremely all pink girly, and she'd just be like, yeah, I like cute things. Jeez.
Maybe. You asked at the beginning of this question if any of Minori's recommendations would be off, and because empathy seems to be her special talent, I don't think so.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. She puts a lot of thought into her recommendations, and she's very observant and stuff like that. I think it would be funny if she gave Manatsu a book, and Manatsu was like, this isn't a coloring book, and Minori's just like, this will help you develop your reading skills, Manatsu.
She gave Laura the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, and Laura was like, why do I need this? I already know this. And Minori leans in and goes, no, you don't.
You sweet summer child. Okay. Yeah, and I guess if you wanted to imagine Minori being snarky, I could imagine her giving Laura, like, a textbook and being like, you must learn this, Laura. Now that you're a human, you must know human things. And Laura's like, no!
She gives her a history of mountains.
Yes, absolutely.
A legitimate recommendation for Laura, because she's the only one we didn't cover, would probably be, like, a biography of really popular monarchs.
Okay, yeah,
like Princess Diana or something. Was Princess Diana popular, or was she treated pretty badly? Because I've heard it go back and forth.
She died when I was so young. I think
she was popular because they made a Beanie Baby after her, but I think the press treated her badly.
I think she was well liked, but the press was terrible, and that according to many, was like what caused her death, because I think it was like paparazzi chasing her that caused the car to crash, that sort of thing. But yeah, I think by all accounts she was fairly popular with the people, outside of royalty, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Ozoku.
Kaizoku is pirate.
Kazoku. That's family, I think. Family is very close to
oh God,
pirates.
Joel, don't turn around. Dom from Fast and the Furious is standing right behind you.
Wearing an eye patch. He's going to become the Pirate King.
Family. Do you have a succinct summary for this episode?
Yes. So it is the beginning of summer break, and Laura is super unimpressed because she likes school. What a nerd. Manatsu's very excited, and they're talking about what they all want to do, and eventually they decide they're going to do a summer camp for the Tropical Club. Something that Laura doesn't know what that is. And Manatsu is they're trying to coordinate, like, what's everyone going to be doing every day? Does anyone have any plans? And they eventually decide that they should have the summer camp on Minori's home island.
Whose home island?
They decide that they should have the summer camp on Minatsu's home island because she's going to go back to visit her dad. Maybe I should have written down the name of the island. Minamino, something like that? Anyways.
Something like that.
They're all going to go to Laura's hometown, and they're going to have this great big adventure. They spend some time trying to figure out exactly what they want to do with their schedule, but then the mom's like, don't you think this is overly busy? And they immediately go, you know what? Yeah, we'll just kind of play it by ear. But there is one place, the Cave of Foreshadowing. We should go there. It says, welcome everyone, and in fine print underneath that, especially the PreCure. I wonder if that's going to be relevant. As they are getting ready to go, it turns out that Laura is actually pretty excited and she's a little nervous. And there's a cute scene where Minatsu and Laura share a bed and they have Karurun between them because Karurun is the perfect soothing animal for all of your anxieties. And then...
Karurun is about as thick as the Book of Mormon, which you're supposed to keep between you and...
Oh my goodness. And... that's basically it. Changirei shows up and turns Minatsu's suitcase into a Yarine Da, Zen Yarine Da, and it is full of just a bunch of different toys that she thought would be really fun. And then there's a moment where they ask her if she packed her homework, and she's like, there's no time! We have to defeat the monster! Homework doesn't Tropica shine! You all know that! And they eventually beat the monster, and then they get on the cruise ship. Or not the cruise ship, the ferry. And they go back to Minatsu's island, and that's the end of the episode. There is one scene that isn't really chronologically important, but it turns out the butler is in the library, and he's looking through some book. We don't know, like, if it's like a book of legends or a book of secret evil plots or what, but... he also finds the Cave of Foreshadowing, and he comments that he found something interesting.
So do you think it's going to be a PreCure power-up in the cave?
Oh, yeah, of course it is.
It'll be the necklace that gives Karurun legs. Big
just legs, nothing
legs.
else. Karurun, stomp, 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 stomp.
All right, so I want to call something out.
Yeah.
And the thing that I'm calling out is my own immense empty-headedness. This whole time... Minatsu's been saying, Tropica Shine, right?
Yeah.
And everyone around her is like, Tropica Shine. And we were kind of like, Tropica Shine, what an interesting catchphrase. What's going on there? Well, I tried using my actual ears this episode, and what she is saying in Japanese is Tropica. Pika is the Japanese word for shining. So she combined the two words. It's a portmanteau of tropical and pika, and I'm so angry that I didn't figure that out until sooner. And that's something I think that you really lose out on with modern subtitles, like especially official ones, because I feel like when I was a kid and I had to watch fan subs of things, fan subs point out, like, this is a pun, but the official doesn't, and that's a bummer.
Yeah. At the same, like, yeah, the issue of dubbing and translating and localization is a long and complicated one, and I know that there are many people on Twitter, for example, or YouTube who are against the stance that you're kind of taking, in the sense that, you know, there's a lot of people who are like, oh, fan subs are great because they call the Beast Pirates, or they call the Animal Kingdom Pirates the Beast Pirates, and Beast Pirates sound so much more manly, and they don't mess things up, but then there's quite a few examples of them messing things up, like, pretty badly. So, yes, I agree that it's good to get the pun. I think that the best translators and localizers, I know there's a difference, but I don't actually know what that difference is. But I think the best ones can somehow find a way to try to incorporate that pun into the language it's being translated into. But I do agree that there are certain things that generally only work in their kind of native language or in like specific languages, and it doesn't translate very well to other situations.
Absolutely. Well, and we've seen that a literal translation of the pun is not good or interesting. Like, there was a movie that we had to watch fan-subbed that had Ichika saying shine sparklation instead of like, I just had a flash, or a flash of inspiration, which is the official version that personally doesn't jive for me, but I know you like a lot. But like, that's that's a great example of how if you're too literal with your translations, like, it doesn't matter that you got the pun across, it's still annoying.
Yes, absolutely.
Whereas just a quick, like, this is a pun in the original, we're translating it like this, it just adds to my appreciation of the show.
Yeah. I totally
So if you also are an enormous doofus like me and didn't pick up on that until episode 21 of the gosh darn show, congrats. Now you know.
That is wonderful. And I mean, in case you're wondering, the Pika from Tropica is in fact the same Pika as Pikachu, and that's also Kizaru's devil fruit in One Piece is the Pika Pika no Mi, the glint glint fruit.
Glint, 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 glint.
Did you like this episode?
I get to answer first this week. I did like this episode. I liked it a lot. I thought it was very funny. I thought that the fact that none of them packed anything practical was pretty telling as to their characters, but, like, they each packed something that, like, of course, that's what they packed.
Yeah. So, very quickly, Manatsu basically packed a bunch of toys and melon pan because she wanted to share that with the islands. And then she also quickly asked, and I also got some for us too. And Lemaire goes, I wasn't worried about that, you doofus. Minori brought a bunch of books. She wants to read like 100-volume manga or something like that, and she also brought book recommendations for the others. And then Sango was very excited to bring a bunch of new makeup that they could all wear. Asuka, the sole voice of reason. I mean, I guess technically Laura also didn't overpack, but Asuka basically just brought lunch boxes for the day and then her favorite pillow. And it seemed like she didn't have anything else, and so I'm just wondering if, like, is she gonna buy, like, the swimsuit and, like, maybe, like, pajamas when they get there, or what?
I think I saw that she was carrying an extra bag.
Okay.
So her clothes are probably in there. She was just pointing out the most important things.
Okay, yeah. But she packed light because she's the older senpai, and also she's just one of the reasonable ones.
Yes. Also, man, the food in this show looks good. When they unveiled her bentos, like, it just made me hungry.
It was incredible.
But no, I really liked this episode. I thought it was a lot of fun. I'm excited for Manatsu. I like that we are going to have a plot that will probably last, 2 episodes, but that's more than 1 episode. That's cool. Thanks, show. What about you? What did you think?
I loved this episode. You had such good facial expressions from the different characters. You had really good interactions. So in PreCure, they tried to represent the best of all worlds, if that makes sense. So school is very exciting. There's no one who really doesn't like it. Even the students who don't study very much, they seem to enjoy going to school. Everyone enjoys going to sports and stuff and that sort of thing. So you don't normally get a character who is in any way grumpy about something, except the occasional ghost episode. You might have one character who's afraid of ghosts, but Laura being like, summer break, ugh, like that was unexpected, and I appreciate it because, like, she doesn't know what that is, and to her it means that she might not see her friends as often, and so cool, I like that a lot. I like the monster turning all the different toys into attacks. So at one point it has like squirt gun like missiles, or not missiles, but like cannons, and they're shooting, powerful bursts of water. It was just a really good episode. And as someone who keeps an eye on the chemistry between different characters, you had Manatsu and Laura at night just being like, kind of confessing like, oh, I'm a little anxious, that sort of thing. That was cute. And at the end of the episode, when they're on the ferry, Manatsu and Sango are like running alongside each other on the ferry to like see something on the horizon, but just something about the way it was shot made me think, yeah, those two are cute.
Manatsu and Sango are adorable. Whether as like a ship or just standing next to each other.
Yeah, Luffy and Usopp was the pair that you brought up from One Piece, and I could see that too. So yeah, no, it was a great episode.
Absolutely. Was there? We touched on this briefly, but do you have any ideas about what's going to come of the cave?
So I'm going to assume that there is an actual item of magical power in the cave. I don't think that it's going to be like the because there's two possibilities. Either the bad guys, they don't really have like a name for their association, but the servants of the Witch of Delays, they'll go into the cave, and the Tropical Club will go into the cave, and they will discover that there's nothing there, but because Asuka and Minori and Laura had to all like work together to get through the cave, that will make them stronger, and then that'll reveal a new attack. I kind of like that, but since the cave is in the Butler's book, I'd prefer that it be some magical item, and I'd prefer that this give them the ability to use a team combo attack. We already have the papaya bird, summer mix, I think, tropical mix, but that doesn't include Laura's contribution, and so I'm hoping that next episode we will get all 5 of them working together to summon the giant cannon that was foreshadowed back in whatever.
That'd be cool. I hope they finally fight the Butler. Like, it would be so great if he went after whatever this is himself. I don't think he's going to, because I think the Butler is a late endgame
Possibly,
villain.
sure.
But can you imagine if he showed up and he just kicked the crud out of them and then took whatever it was and they had to go get it?
Oh, okay. I will say 2 arcs where they have to invade the castle in order to try to get items feels a little samey, but at the same time, I would love more interactions with the Witch of Delays.
Wow. Laura's an item to you now?
You know what I mean.
She's a valued member of this team, just like Pete the Triceratops.
Hey guys, did you mention me? Hey Pete, welcome to the episode. Oh, cool, thank you. I actually fell behind on watching Tropical Rouge a little bit, so can you catch me up? Laura's got legs. Laura's got what?
Oh yeah, and also they all turned into dinosaurs.
What? I need to watch this show right away. I gotta tell my friends bye.
It wasn't very nice to lie to Pete, but I hope that it brings him joy until he finds out it was a lie.
We're just gonna, questionable ethics aside. I hope that the cave is actually something important, although it would be, like I said, there's the 2 possibilities. There is something magical, there isn't something magical. It would be funny if the Butler showed up and, like, he had a Tai Lung moment from Kung Fu Panda, like, it's nothing, there's no secret ingredient, and then the Tropical Club are like, the secret ingredient is high fives!
The secret ingredient is Tropica! Alright, so you're our resident Japanese expert.
Yeah.
Kiriyaba, is that, like, shining imagination? Because Kira is like glitter, so like glittering, but I don't know Yaba.
And they translate it as twinkle imagination. They translate it as twin cool. So Yaba is probably like alright. It's probably like like an onomatopoeia or something like that. Like a wow, it's like an expression.
Okay.
But no, the reason I laughed is when you called me the Japanese expert is because I know a little bit, but not really enough to be dangerous.
That one time when I translated a thing, you were like, hey, I do the translating.
Yeah, absolutely.
Enough to be dangerous. You're out here reading signs, but slightly off, so you're sending tourists to friggin' Osaka instead of some other place. I don't know Japanese places.
Very nice, very nice. I just realized, and one could argue that this has already been foreshadowed with the super special tropical melon pan that'll melt your face off, but what if their combo attack with all 5 members is they hold out their arms and they become a star, where their bodies are the points of the star, and they shoot like a laser beam through it or something like that.
Love it. Ooh, that's a good discussion question. On the 5-pointed star, which element does each of them represent? And then which one is in the middle for spirit? We'll talk about that next time.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. I will say that I hope that, kind of like how the first half of this episode was the girls, like, planning their trip and that sort of thing, and it wasn't really anything of consequence. Look at me, now that we finally are getting episodes that might actually mean something, I'm like, can we go back to episodic? But I hope that we get them having some fun on the beach before the episode gets serious. Like, I hope that it doesn't just start, like, mid-battle and the Butler is already kicking their butt or whatever.
The dramatic music is playing. Songo is on the ground, untransformed, like, clearly in pain or passed out or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Asuka and Laura are the only 2 still, like, fully on their feet.
Papaya's in the corner being like, fruits are inferior to vegetables.
See, I was imagining Manatsu, like, pulling papaya out of rubble, but...
Okay, that one's good, too. Imagine Cure Summer just, like, buried underneath, like, a pile of, like, dirt or gravel or sand or something, and just Karurun is, like, trying to, like, dig her out. Karurun! Karurun's all worried.
Karurun, stop slapping the dirt with your paws. You're not, or your fins. You're not helping. You want to know something kind of messed up?
Sure.
Did you know seals have feet?
That aren't the fins?
So if you look at the skeletal structure of the flippers at the base of their tail, those are feet. And it's really freaky.
Kind of like how horses, they just have, like, the one really long toenail or whatever it is, or the one toe that comes out of the...
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's what it is. Oh, goodness
man.
gracious.
I run on specialized fingers.
All right. Anything else from this episode?
I don't think so. There's not really anything that I wanted to call out. I don't really get Changire's, like... He and the others didn't want to go gather motivation power because it was too hot and they just wanted to have a summer vacation. And the butler was like, whoever gathers motivation power first can go on summer vacation first. And he sent Changi-Ray. Laura got the motivation power back, but Changi-Ray was still like, haha, yes, I don't care that I got defeated. I get to take my summer vacation.
I could not tell you. So I don't think they've explained it very well, but my impression is that even though they're beating the bad guys and getting the motivation power back and helping people restore people, there seems to be, like, some residual amount that they get to keep because, you know, they had that episode when Laura was captured and it was the butler talking to the Witch of Delays saying, like, oh, when this bag fills up, we'll be able to unleash hell or whatever he said. And so... it's kind of like the sorrow gauge in Fresh PreCure, where the bad guy showing up and causing havoc gives them a little bit of energy, but if the PreCure didn't stop them, they'd get a lot more, maybe.
Okay, absolutely.
Plus, it would be inconvenient for the plot if they didn't have a final villain who was, like, super powered up or whatever.
Right, you need them to be able to drink that juice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Giant Witch of Delays sized juice box. Oh, man. All right, so I think that about covers it for Tropical Rouge, then. Let's do Futari Wa, because I felt like the episode this week was pretty powerful.
Absolutely. I tweeted a couple of screenshots from the beginning of the episode, and it's interesting because this episode was very emotionally resonant. It was probably the most powerful episode that we've seen so far, but the beginning of the episode was very silly. You have Honoka being like, oh yeah, this classmate of ours is actually like, oh, he confessed. That's how she starts the conversation, and you have, like, Nagisa choking on her chips and doing, like, a spit take and stuff like that. But ultimately, the real meat of the episode, the actual point, is that Kiriya, the young child villain general, has revealed himself to Honoka to be the evil general, and they're going to have a showdown. And Honoka and Nagisa are both very distraught. They liked this classmate of theirs, and during the fight, he is kind of like, I was never your friend, and they both are kind of like, what about that time you were nice to that one person? That was a feeling that you had. And he was like, I've never once had a feeling in my life.
You! Oh, sorry, you don't like cursing in.
We can bleep it out.
Eat my beans!
Eat my... You're not my real mom, Honoka! Honoka's just like, what? But in the end, he realizes that he doesn't want to destroy them. And he gives them the necklace that has the what are they called? The prism gems in it. And he basically walks off to get absorbed by the darkness. It's a kid show, so they don't really say it, but basically he is letting himself be destroyed in order to not have to fight. Absolutely. And so, yeah, it was an emotionally resonant episode, and now we are down to the last and most powerful general of the original Council of Goons.
So here's my question for you. Do you think that because they were born of darkness, that's it, and when Jiaku King is destroyed, they will be gone forever? Or do you think when he's destroyed, they will come back and they'll get to live as normal people? Like, will it be like a Heartcatch style situation where they were normal people and they just got corrupted by the darkness and lost their memories?
So I would say that from the perspective of the show's narrative, we are told that they are simply made of darkness and that, they were born of it. So it seems to be that once they restore the field of light and defeat the Jakku King, that they will not come back. However, this is PreCure and a subset of the magical girl genre, which generally ends on a fairly hopeful note. So I would think that maybe they'll get reincarnated in some way. Maybe they're not actually destroying the darkness. Maybe they're turning it into light or something. And so maybe the generals will come back as like fairies, and they'll have to be taught by Mipple and Mepple like how to be kind to society or something like that. But if they didn't come back, I wouldn't say like, oh, they did that just for the drama. No, like they clearly have been building up to that conclusion. But it would be nice if they found a way to reverse that, since in this episode they hinted that the PreCure have the power to destroy fate. So if it's their fate to return to darkness, then maybe the PreCure are the ones who can save them.
Yeah.
So
I like that. I'm on the same page as you. Like, I think the show is leading us in one direction, but I think with my meta-knowledge of how these series usually go, I expect at least Kiriya to return.
Right.
It would be really sweet if, like, we see a flash of him in a crowd and he's walking with Poisony and they're, like, brother and sister.
Yes, that would be great. The other thing, too, to keep in mind is that we've only been told by the evil guys that they will return to darkness and be nothing, which, if the Jakku King has corrupted fairies and turned them evil or whatever has happened, it would benefit him to lie about that and not tell them that there's a way for them to escape, because so long as they're afraid of dying, they will help him. So, there's another point in favor of maybe they'll come back in some way.
Yeah, absolutely. You wrote down a quote here that's related to this idea of changing fate, if you want to share it.
Yes. This is Kiriya talking to Honoka during the battle. If I had been born to this world, then maybe my fate would have been different.
And see, that could be foreshadowing for what I was saying.
Yeah, no. I really like that. I like that a lot. So in the next episode, I don't know if it's going to be the next episode, but pretty soon here, they're going to get the 7th
Prism Stone.
Prism Stone, thank you. I don't know why I keep forgetting what they're called. What do you think is going to happen at that point? Will they get a power-up? Will they open a portal? Will they get new merchandise to sell?
I think there will be a hopeful moment where, like, they think the field of light is about to be restored, and then something will go wrong and shatter the Prism Stones.
Oh! Okay, how do you think they're going to fix that, then?
Mepple and Mipple were saying that the Field of Rainbows has its own... Field of Light. They're from the Field of Rainbows.
The Field of Rainbows is the human world. The Field of Light is...
So they were saying the Field of Rainbows has its own version of life energy, which is what the Prism Stones are made of. So I think that their heart will be enough to restore the field of
Okay,
light.
I like that. Alternatively, they have to go to the dwarf who originally created the Prism Stones, and he will send them on 7 different quests to restore the power of each heart, which each represent a different emotion in humans.
He'll say, sorry about your hammer, but I don't forge PreCure weapons anymore. And they'll say, but the universe? And he'll say, fine, and he'll make him a sick-ass axe that can summon lightning.
Okay, so, and then in a later season, they will get time travel and they'll go back in time, which allows the PreCure girls to have both the axe of friendship and the hammer of friendship at the same time, which leads to a scene where we see Peach picking up the friendship hammer, and we knew she was worthy all along, and everyone will whoop and cheer. Thank you for that fantastic reference joke. But, yeah, no, it seems like we're in the end game, except meta knowledge. I know we have another 28 episodes to go, so I'm curious how the Jakku King will create more minions. I don't know. Maybe he'll be like, Pissard was in the rejuvenation chamber, and now it's been long enough that he can come back, but he's even stronger. Or he needed 100 days to be reborn, but it's only been 98 days, so he's not quite right. And it's like Pissard with like a crack in his face or something, and he's like, I don't know, bizarre or something.
Oh, I really like that. Okay, I'm on board.
But
did you have anything else you wanted to say about Futari Wa?
Not particularly.
Hit me with that flash of inspiration. How was Kiriya this week?
Good. So the fairies want to go back to their island, to Mount Ichigo, and they're looking for a signal that it is safe for reasons. I guess Mount Ichigo was unsafe for a time. I know there was an explosion, but that seemed like a one-time thing rather than... Anyways, these fairies want to go back to their home. And so Choro, the elder, decides, let's use a magical umbrella to set off a laser that creates a firework that looks like my face giving the thumbs up, and that'll tell all the fairies to come back. So all the fairies have come back, and it turns out that even though they were going to be eaten by stray cats and other such vicious creatures, they were saved by the weird minions from the first, 10 episodes. I don't know why I said weird minions, but the pudding monster and the chocolate monster and all those things. Now that they're good, they helped the fairies. I
have discovered that the other little monsters are called the Kiriya thieves.
Okay. I don't think that's what they are, though. You know what I'm saying? I think that's their profession. I think that's the role they played, but I don't think that's their race.
Yeah, they are just fairies according to the wiki. It says they are evil and mischievous fairies.
Oh, okay.
But I don't think they're actually evil, because the show kind of goes out of its way to be like, hey, they didn't mean to do this thing. That's why they're making amends now.
They got a little carried away. Okay. My point is... And I apologize if I seem a little exasperated. We've had to pause recording a couple of times thanks to our glorious puppy. But my point is that all of the fairies are back. Ichigo throws a party for them. And who shows up? But actually, a lot of people show up. But the first person to show up is Ciel. And it turns out that Ciel is actually a fairy known as Kiriya, who learned how to transform into humans after she left to go study sweets in France. And so that's why no one recognized Ciel as this fairy. And she's very excited. And then she realizes that Ichigo and them have seen her in her fairy form. And she's like, wait, you know about the fairies? And they go, of course we know about the fairies because we're PreCure. And Ciel goes, what? And then who shows up but Biberi to steal all of this powerful cure-all from everyone. And... they fight her, and it looks like they're about to win, and she gets so upset that she pours her own dark cure-all into the monster to make it even bigger and stronger, and they have to work together in order to defeat it with some badass music, because I think we've already covered it, but same composer as My Hero Academia's soundtrack. And they end up defeating her again, and she gets really upset, and then who shows up? But Rio, eyes glowing red. He has a more powerful version of the dark candy rod or whatever it was called, and he is going to F up all of their stuff. So all in all, a lot of stuff happened at this fairy party on Mount Ichigo, and the plot is just full steam ahead.
Yes, which is actually why Kiriya is one of my favorite seasons, because I feel like, especially the first main villain arc with Julio is very much a... it's a story, right?
Yes, absolutely.
They have the monster of the week elements, but also there is a plot that progresses forward.
Yeah, there's a villain who has a motivation to do something, and maybe that's why the generals of Tropical Rouge are kind of lame, because they don't have the motivation. But no, the character motivation for the different characters, for Biberi and for Ichika and Ciel and Julio, they're all pretty well interwoven, and it makes sense that, the characters are changing as time goes on. And I'm really excited. I might, but I'm not going to make up any kind of a promise or anything, but I might watch more than one episode between this week and next, just because we're getting into the good stuff.
Really absolutely. I've said it before, but I really feel like watching this show in 7-episode chunks was super effective for me.
Absolutely.
Because every 7 episodes almost seems to feel like its own self-contained mini arc.
Well, and that's, I picked that number because we had 49 episodes, and, the only number that nicely divides into 49 is 7. So I was like, okay, we'll do 7 sessions of 7 episodes. But episode 21, the end of the third set of 7... ends with this Julio showing up and being like, I am evil now, more evil. I'm super evil. And so I by happenstance, that happened to be a really good place to cut off.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you're enjoying Kiriya. when you finish it, I'm going to have to really dedicate myself to beginning Star Twinkle.
And there will be no excuses at that point. That's basically all I'm going to say. I will say, even when you hadn't seen past this episode, I was kind of like, okay, so this is PreCure, we know where it's going to go, but it's still interesting to see how it's going to get resolved. How is Ciel and Julio's relationship going to get resolved? And isn't that interesting that Julio disappeared for, like, the 3 episodes during which Ciel was getting introduced so that they couldn't immediately recognize each other?
Oh, how shocking. Yeah. Did you also like that when he showed up and he was, like, super evil, only half of his face was in shadow?
Yes, I like that.
PreCure uses that visual device a lot, but I still love it every time.
Yeah. It's an excellent way of using a metaphor for your message. Also, this episode also has the fairy versus the cat shadow silhouette, which just, looks way more badass than it has any right to.
So, you've given me your thoughts before about Ciel.
Yeah.
What do you think of Kiriya the fairy?
She's adorable. Yeah, she just is.
Would you kill for her?
I'm not sure I should say that on a recorded...
Would you die for her?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, absolutely. Here's the thing. There are characters I would die for, but I wouldn't kill for.
I see.
But like Kururin, I would kill for Kururin.
You know what? Absolutely. And you can just, looking into Kururin's deep, unfathomable eyes, you can tell that Kururin has seen the end of time already.
I have seen the beginning and the end. I have seen the making and unmaking of all things. I have seen you, and I have seen when you are not. You are insignificant before me.
Tell me the name of God, you marine piece of crap.
You seal piece of... We do have a thought from the crew this week that I kind of want to get your opinion on. So our friend James, that one welder guy on Twitter, says, this episode felt a bit boring, but I'm sure it's because it's a lead-in episode for the next arc of the story/plot. And I do want to note he put story/plot in quotation marks because we all know this show doesn't have a big overarching plot.
Including what's his name? Dr. Evil, I think, from Austin Powers, finger quotes, plot.
Yes, exactly. But we both said that we really liked this episode and we had a good time with it. So I'm curious... where do you think the disconnect is? What do you think were the boring pieces of this episode?
So I think that nothing happened in this episode. And I think that could be construed as boring, the same way that I've been complaining for the last couple of episodes about how the episodes don't really feel like anything. However, in this episode, it's cute nothing. I did kind of like the episode where they were podcasting or on the radio and Minatsu blew out the speakers because she was too energetic, but that's still only one character having a moment to shine, whereas this episode was all 5 of them trying to come up with like the best activities that they want to do, and Minatsu was just getting super excited about like, you guys got to do this and this and this and this, and Laura. So like, I just think that there were more character interactions and it was cuter, and that's why I can forgive the fact that it's just basically nothing of an episode.
Yeah, it was fairly endearing. I am really interested in where the plot thread is going to go. And like we said earlier in the episode, I'm crossing my fingers and hoping that we get more than an episode's worth out of this.
Sure.
I don't think we will, just based on how the show has handled things before. But we could. It could be interesting.
Yeah, well, okay, so we've had a couple of seasons, and, we've said it before over and over again that we haven't seen every season, but in Go Princess and Kiriya and Heartcatch, there were previous generations of PreCure that they all looked up to, and I was just thinking, wouldn't it be interesting if, because Minatsu said it was a pirate treasure. What if there was a pirate-themed PreCure 100 years ago?
That would be awesome.
And she left all of her friendship and happiness and henshin items in one place.
Oh, goodness. Well, and Laura knew what the PreCure were before she found Minatsu in them. She was like, I have to find the new PreCure. So there's gotta be legends of past PreCure.
Absolutely. And I'm just so glad that we're finally mentioning pirates. I said that a couple of episodes ago. I saw something on Twitter. I wasn't sure if it was a fan art or like from the official manga, but it was Minatsu dressed as a pirate, so thank you. Bringing pirates to PreCure. I
saw a tweet that reminded me of you today. It was, I hate people who complain about Monster of the Week as a format. Imagine that. You get a new monster every week. What are you complaining about?
That's wonderful. And that has been your
Doot 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 doot. Final thought. Outro goes here.
Thank you for listening, everyone, and don't forget to Tropica Shine.
PreCure.
Ha-ha! What a great episode of King of the What Now, your One Piece podcast that started from the very beginning and stars these two doofuses. If you want to follow us on social media, Twitter is the best place to do that. I am at KOTWN_pod.
And I am at Pirate Ghost Host.
Absolutely, yes. We share all sorts of thoughts on there, some related to the podcast, some related to other things. But you can also reach us through email at kingofthewhatpod@gmail.com, or you can also find us on Patreon. We would love some subscribers or supporters, whatever the technical term is. Patrons. So fancy and grown up. And you can find that at patreon.com/kingofthewhatpod. You can find all sorts of things like bonus episodes, and you get to see the full cold open candidates, not just the ones that make it into the episode. Maybe someday if I learn to draw, I'll put stuff up there. We're always looking for suggestions and feedback. And speaking of which,
please take a moment to rate and review our podcast wherever you get us from. So iTunes, Spotify, Scrivener, that's for writing. But wherever you listen to our podcast, take a moment to leave a review. It helps other people find us. We are so grateful to all of our listeners, and we couldn't do this without you.
Absolutely. Word of mouth is super powerful, so if you have a friend who likes One Piece and they haven't heard of us, just direct them to the latest episode. And if they hate us, they can tell us why. And if there's an actionable item, we'll try to please you. That's how this works. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.